Welcome back, guys. Oh, goodness me. Finals week 3, done and dusted. League of Inches review show once again. Hello to everyone watching delayed on the podcast or watching the replay of this on either Facebook or YouTube. Really appreciate the support once again. But here to talk all things about finals week 3 for both the men's and women's side of things. About a half an hour show. So get involved, get your comments in below. And I think we've all had a bit of a taste of live footy this weekend, so it's been great to go and give it a watch, whether it's NRL level, park footy. It's all that time of year, the finals time, and we all love it. So absolutely love it. I was there last night, and probably one of the best atmospheres I've ever been to, and I've been to some of the Origins. I was there when New South Wales broke the streak, and that was ridiculous. But last night challenged it. Credit to both the Warriors and Broncos fans that made it a spectacle, and it was fantastic to watch. Boys, any highlights over the weekend? Obviously, quickly, I just let everyone know that obviously about if they were living under a rock. Obviously, Penrith through, the Broncos are through, and for the women's side of it, Newcastle at home in front of a massive crowd. It was great to see the red and blue faithful out in numbers supporting their females. And then it was the Titans upsetting the Roosters. So 2 years in a row, the Roosters have choked. Haven't been able to make it to the big dance after being heavy favourites throughout the year. So probably a bit going on there at the Roosters, but we'll talk about that later on. But boys, what stood out to you over the weekend?
I'll go then. Well, as you touched on, we've all been to a bit of live footy over the weekend. So I was there this afternoon watching the Knights women's play. Nearly 13,000 Novocastrians turned up to watch and set a record for a standalone NRLW game. So that was really cool to be a part of. So to see that finals live was great. And then again, just in the men's, the standout was the Broncos. They were just way too good. Yep, we will touch on the forward pass. But there was a couple of other things across the weekend that raised a couple of eyebrows. And then the Storm just proved that, I don't know, they, as much as we were not counting them out, I think they forgot to back themselves. Yeah, I know you did, but Adam and I weren't counting them out ever so quickly. But I think they needed to probably remember who they were and what they believe in, because they just, I don't know, it just seemed like they didn't deserve to be there.
Look, just quickly, we will touch on what Mick has talked about. We are a bit late. Apologies, guys. It is tactical. We were obviously, if we went in then, it was up against the Block, which Channel 9, we don't want to diminish their viewership. So we knew if we did start at that time, a lot of people would actually switch off from the Block. So no worries, Channel 9, we did you a favour. But yeah, welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the Block. And Adam, what looked, what's...
Also, I'm aware that I look like someone on the Block, apparently.
Do you?
I've already been told.
You do now that you've said it? Yes, you do.
Sorry.
You look like bloody old mate who's a bit of a dick, to be honest. So,
happy to play the part. Happy to play the part.
Give us all
Adam, you. Adam.
I love these late shows. These late shows are something else.
Thank goodness, Sunday nights. All right. Do you want me to go now? Is it my turn? Is Jeremy done?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
done. First of all, look, I rocked up to CommBank Stadium today for the Parramatta prelim final. Unfortunately, Parramatta forgot to play football this year and forgot to turn up for their prelims, so that didn't happen. But luckily, while I was there, I got to watch, first of all, Maitland win in the President's Cup final, 32-10, absolutely smashing. I was very smug. Now, this won't surprise anyone, but this is Penrith's third string team, the Ron Massey Cup team, which feeds into their New South Wales Cup team. And, you know, they've got players like Christian Crichton. They're obviously brother of Stephen Crichton. They've got players like Jake Tago, the brother of Isaac Tago. So a lot of players have been in the system. But, look, obviously, Maitland got a massive win over St Mary's team, followed up by Bulldogs. I think it was the Bulldogs versus... who they play? The Roosters in the Jersey Flag, 22-20 winners. And then South Sydney come away in the New South Wales Cup. Obviously, it's got to touch a little bit on those lower grades. And, New South Wales Cup 22-8 over the Bears. But what I want to touch on before I talk about NRL games is the Bears contingent of fans there today. We're in the Leagues Club after the.
He's hot on this, guys. He's hot on this.
Oh, mate, it's time.
Makes a point,
it's
though.
Time.
Bring back the Bears.
It's time, honestly. I know we've spoken about this before. Maybe this can be one of our topics on Wednesday, so I won't go too much into it. But mate, I have never seen for a New South Wales for a reserve grade final so many fans there of a team, and it was just I think there was about 6,000 people there for kickoff of the New South Wales Cup, and there would have been 5,700 Bears fans. All the old jerseys. It was just great to see the red and black back. So obviously they didn't win, but. Look, I think it's time. I want to see the Bears back. I don't want to see them based out of Perth. I want to see them somehow based out of somewhere in New South Wales, whether it be the Central Coast or Sydney or whatever. There's ways around it. I've got some ideas, but stick around for Wednesday.
We'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to it. Good.
In saying that, at the Knights game this afternoon, a bloke to the left of me was wearing a North Sydney Bears jersey. So you're right.
Random Bears.
Pretty much. They're a good kit too. I like their kit.
It's a great kit, and it's iconic. It's just iconic when you think of rugby league, really. And obviously it's pretty good that it was South Sydney versus obviously North Sydney, but even though North Sydney are essentially the Roosters anyway. But still, look, we'll touch on that Wednesday. I've got a lot to say about that in future expansion, so let's make that a talking point. But look, based on the NRL, once again, I found myself on Friday night watching the AFL game instead of the NRL game because it was just boring.
Thrilling.
It was thrilling, 100%. Once again, the AFL was kicking ass. It was an absolutely wonderful game, 1-point game there, decided by Collingwood beating GWS. But look, Penrith, what I saw, Penrith never looked like losing the game. I know Melbourne come out and scored a pretty easy try through Justin Olam, but look, I can also see why Justin Olam has spent some time in reserve grade because he let in a couple of tries, well, some pretty soft ones. So Penrith did it in cruise control. Look, we've got the grand final. We probably didn't want because we wanted the Warriors there, but probably the grand final we deserve this year.
Up the wires.
Yeah, one last time up the wires, but go back
the wires.
Now. There we go. But look, obviously, Brisbane, we'll talk more in the depth of the game, but some of the form they actually produced in that game and some of the tries they scored was unbelievable. But we got the grand final we deserved, first versus second. They've been standout teams all year. It's going to be a cracker, but as you can see, I've pretty much jumped ship. And let's just hope that the Bronx Nation can get it done. Jeremy, it's time for the song.
You've put me on the spot. I was looking up something else.
Oh, we love it. The Bronx. I think a lot of bandwagoners have jumped on the Bronx.
Yeah, Jeremy, get the thing ready. All I'll say is, fuck Brisbane.
Oh, what do you want me to play there? Oh, sorry.
Penrith. I've said the wrong one. Penrith. Brisbane.
Oh, Jesus. It's fatigue setting. It's been big days for us all, I think. Big weekends. Look, we will just quick. I was touch on this and just say the final series as a whole, we have got to the first and second. I think the final series as a whole is the first time in a long time where I feel like most results or pretty much every result has gone the way it sort of was expected to go, which I think has just the better teams on the days obviously won and gone through each time. So a bit of a credit, I guess, there to the NRL finals and how it was set up, and it's probably doing it the right way at the moment with the two best teams now into the big one. Let's quickly touch on the NRLW side of things today. I don't know if Adam was able to catch too much of it being live at the New South Wales Cup and things like that, but Jez was obviously at the Knights game. We'll talk on that first. The Newcastle Knights were fantastic for a lot of that game. They started on fire. Credit to the Broncos. They stayed in it and made it a contest right down to the final whistle. They were in with a chance to win that game and make it go to extra points. So credit to them because if anyone hasn't watched that game, go and watch the first probably 15 minutes. No one in the NRLW will get close to Newcastle and probably obviously the Titans next week if they can put more of that together next week because that was insane. And Tamika Upton is an absolute freak that you just need to watch next week because she is an absolute star. Jez, how was it?
Oh, it was great live. Olivia Higgins had a really fantastic game in dummy half as well. Jessie Southwell kicked 5 from 5. I know a couple of those were pretty close to the post, but she nailed one from the sideline.
Would have made you happy.
Even Ali Brigginshaw nailed one from the sideline as well. So I know that we were talking about goal kicking in the Wars game and how that kind of let them down. And I know you put up a post around why wasn't Johnson kicking, but it just goes to show it's a specialist position. Like, you need someone that can ice games by kicking conversions, and if you don't, then you're in trouble. So no, the atmosphere was great. The only worrying sign was that towards the back end of the game, the Knights were just busted, but so were the Broncos. Like, they were just runs through the middle where they were just gaining meters, and I think they let in 2 late tries, which kept us in the crowd on our toes, biting fingernails. But it was a great finish, and I just think, it was a credit to our fast start that got us over the line today. So
I think
Adam,
it's been a long season. Jeremy said about fatigue. It's been really tough the long season. They're playing at least 4 extra games than they had to last year. So obviously fatigue setting in. They've got to adapt to that. Look, I saw a bit at the Leagues Club. Watched probably first 20 minutes there, and listened to some of it in the car as well. Listened to the last bit of it in the car. So look, I thought Newcastle obviously pretty good. I knew Jeremy would be pretty happy that Newcastle won the game on the back of goal kicking. So that was obviously exciting for him. But I knew Brisbane would give it to him, and it kind of proved 5 tries each. They were up to obviously the level of Newcastle, and obviously they're up to the level of when they played them earlier in the year. So, and they play 70 now. They play 70 now.
It's 35.
Yeah, I think it's 70 now.
35-minute halves.
Yeah. 35-minute halves.
Yeah,
Did you get a chance to watch the second game, boys?
No,
I was at the game. No,
I think so.
Then I watched the Formula One highlights.
Oh, that was great to watch at a normal time for once. I don't have to look like a zombie tomorrow. But yeah, that was a great game. The Roosters versus the Titans. Titans were just outmuscled them everywhere for the whole 70 minutes. I haven't seen the Roosters get dominated like that since probably the Knights beat them, and wasn't expecting that. But credit to the Titans. I'm really keen to see that grand final next week. I think it'll be an absolute cracker. Titans' defense at the moment is on fire. They're a brick wall. It's very, very hard to get by them. Let's talk on the obviously the 2 NRL games on Friday night. You boys said it was probably the most boring prelim final we've probably ever had. And you know what, I want to go in a little bit here on the Storm and Craig Bellamy, actually, who I think has escaped a lot of criticism over the time. And fair enough, he's done a great job with the Melbourne Storm, but I think he just made some silly coaching errors Friday night, which sort of led to the demise of the Storm. Obviously, we've seen Harry Grant once again come off the bench, and we spoke about it last week. You needed him to play 80 minutes to give the Storm any chance to beat the Penrith Panthers, because by the time he was already on the field, I know they were only behind, I think it was by 6 points at that stage, they were just so far ahead of him, and it just fatigue had set in so much that Harry Grant couldn't do anything off his forwards because their forwards were already buggered. Like the Penrith middle, James Fisher-Harris and Leota had one of the best games I've seen from a front row pairing. Fisher-Harris's first stint is out of this world. That is one of me and Adam were talking about obviously in the chat, and it was one of the best stints I've ever seen from a prop forward, and even counting that grand final last year, obviously against the Eels, where they dominated us as well. But that was just something that I haven't seen for a very long time. And I think Melbourne just missed a few things. Like, there was no real spark there. They seemed to just, as soon as those Penrith scored their first try, it was heads down. They weren't really wanting to get in the contest. It seemed it was just like they gave up, which we haven't said anytime soon or anytime recently about the Storm giving up. So what do you boys think about Adam? What do you think of that game and Storm and just how they turned up?
Yeah, I think the first 17 minutes is kind of what we expected with Melbourne's game plan, and they kind of had nothing after that. The first 17 minutes is pretty much Nelson, a Sofa Solomona, getting under everyone's nerves, and obviously causing a bit of push and shove by all players out there, and just trying to be grub. And I don't have a problem with it. I really don't have a problem. I don't like Nelson, but mate, I don't know what happened. There was a push and shove, and Nelson come in about 10 minutes later to really escalate it. And it was great, though. It was what the game needed. But as soon as Nelson probably took it that step too far with the shot on Cleary, and Craig Bellamy kind of said, look, I've got to cool him off here or we're going to lose a player, they probably should have kept him off and went down to 12 and kept the heat in the game, because as soon as he went off, they were done. There was no game plan. There wasn't any thought put into actually how the Melbourne Storm were going to play football. And for me, that's what makes Melbourne Storm one of the best teams in the comp, is when they're coached to play their style. And they didn't have a way to play their style of football. They went out to try and upset Penrith and put Penrith off. So their whole game plan was based around Penrith. We saw that obviously with them last week having the training jerseys and having the opposition in their Penrith jerseys. They were too focused on what Penrith were going to do instead of going out and doing what they can do. And that's why some of their players are so ordinary, to be honest. Some of their play, like, I'll say this now, and I know he's taken a lot of raps and stuff, and I've always been talked to as one of the best halfbacks. I don't think that Hughes is a very good halfback. I think the reason Hughes seemed like such a good halfback was when Cameron Smith was there. I think he's been very ordinary since then, but he's escaped on the back of some pretty good form by Cameron Munster, who just hasn't had a good year. So with Munster having an average year, it's exposed Hughes. Harry Grant, I think, kind of, I wouldn't say he was hungover after Origin, but he just didn't come back the same player after that Orange period. We saw how superb he was there. Produced a few good games, mostly against Parramatta. But
can I just ask you, boys, on Harry Grant, and this is a topic I wanted to raise, we may as well bring it up now. Is he as good as people say he is? And I say this respectfully. He is obviously one of the best hookers in the game at the moment. But my thinking around that is we've seen over time the best hookers play 80 minutes week in, week out, no matter what. What's he getting protected from? We see it all the time in these big games where he doesn't start. He always is always coming off the bench. And in Origin, I understand it somewhat because Ben Hunt is Ben Hunt, and he's just shown time and time again in Origin, he's up to it. He just has to play. For the Maroons, for the Storm though, he's getting Garlic to start, who is not going to cause Penrith any stress whatsoever. And you've got the Australian Queensland hooker coming off the bench consistently, like it happened in most of the final series as well. What's going on here with Grant? And he just has to be an 80-minute hooker for mine.
I'll answer it because I've been one of the biggest people to bag out Harry Grant. I thought when Harry Grant first came on the Tigers, he looked good in a rubbish team. And same thing, he was playing that 50-minute out of the 80-minute role. Since going to Melbourne, obviously the luxury of having Brendan Smith there as well, same thing. And this year he's been forced to be that main player. And one of Harry Grant's most effective plays was dashing out and running from dummy half and obviously getting out and having a look and creating some play when the players were fatigued. By starting a game, he doesn't get the ability to do that. That's obviously why they put him on the bench. And I think he needs to find a way to adapt his game. And probably that first 20, 25 minutes, you can't just stand and pass the ball as a hooker anymore. Because if you stand and pass the ball as a hooker, you expose your halves. And that's what we're seeing happen. That's why the halves look so ordinary. So we need to bring a bit more kicking into his game. A bit more ability to jump out and not look like he's going to run, but jump out and tuck his, front rowers back under or his locks back under, or maybe even some wraparound plays. Reid Marnie is one of the players that can do that excellently, I think, of straight away. And it gets the team second guessing. So he can do that for the first 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden, when the fatigue comes in, he should still be pretty fresh from doing that. And, then he can turn around and looking for those runs, looking to break through the line himself or going from dummy half like we've seen him be so dangerous. But I don't have a problem with two hookers, but as you said, if you're expecting someone to be one of the best hookers in the game, he needs to be able to play the 80. But I think Melbourne kind of need to invest in their halves a bit more if he's not going to be able to.
If you're going to have two hookers, they've got to be different. They've got to play different styles. So that's why Brandon Smith and Harry Grant were so good, because Brandon Smith was your tough run, tuck it under the arm. He was the one that when they're on the try line, he would bury himself through and get that try. He did it for the Roosters this year as well in the finals. And then Harry Grant would come on and expose that tired forward pack and actually move around. So I think with Garlic starting, it's much of the same. It's like the old cookie cutter approach. Like there's no really differentiation in the hookers when they're coming on. And Harry Grant's really struggled with not being able to play his game because it's exactly the same as the bloke that he's replacing. And you're right, Adam. I think like there's a bit of confidence that I don't know why it's not there since Origin. But he's looked tired. He's looked like all he wants to do is just pass from dummy half instead of trying to clear the ruck himself. So you've touched on some pretty good points there that kind of nails why he's been pretty poor at the moment. And you're right. I kind of agree with you with Hughes. And Munster's just had a shocking year in Munster's even in his own words. He's had a poor year. So might be a bit going on at Melbourne. Who knows?
Yeah, and
the other thing, I just want to add one more thing. The other thing I forgot to add is they had the luxury of having what probably could have been one of the best halfbacks in the game, playing hooker for so long, Melbourne, that so much of Craig Bellamy's coaching style has been around his hooker. obviously with Cameron Smith there, he played like an extra
Pretty
half.
good luxury to have.
Do that. Yeah, it's a massive luxury to have. For me, I think we always spoke about how good Craig Bellamy was as a coach of developing these players and turning these rubbish players into good players or average players, whatever you want to say. I think he's getting exposed a little bit now. I think his game plan's a little bit lost without a hooker to be able to do the stuff that Cameron Smith could do.
And the other thing I just really don't understand at the moment is some of these coaches' obsession with starting some of these good players off the bench to wait for the sting to get taken out of the game. So, as we're saying, when you're versing someone like the Penrith Panthers or the Broncos at the moment, you need to start with your best 13 no matter what, because you need to somehow get on the front foot, because if you let them get on the front foot, which you see time and time again this year with both of those sides, you're not going to get it back. Once they've got it, it's gone. See you later, because their benches are too good. You're not going to have the impact anymore. Like I'd argue that Welch on the weekend, he came on. He's been a great prop, but he had no impact at all, because the Penrith Panthers props that come on do it just as good of a job as their starting props. So it's sort of the sting was taken out. And for the Storm, the best thing they can do now is have an off season where they have a lot of these players have the next couple of months off. They don't play rep footy, they don't play for Australia, and they just relax for a while. They just literally just don't think about rugby league, get away, because they just look drained. They need to just, and I reckon they'll come back a better side next year for it. I think they will. I'll say that now, but yeah, just on the Penrith Panthers quickly, we've got to get to them. They obviously won and looked really, really impressive. Nathan Cleary pulling the strings again. I thought I bagged at LOI a lot this year. I thought he was just did a job. Obviously, did it quite nicely. He only played, I think, the 60 minutes. So they had the luxury of not having to push him, which was probably perfect for his shoulder. Jez, your thoughts on the Penrith Panthers?
Clinical. They were good.
Yep.
I think they went in with their game plan rather than worrying about who they were coming up against. So they just stuck to their guns. They trusted the process, and they put on quite a show. I think Cogger played well when he was on there. And then their forwards were just outstanding. Like we were going off in the chat about how impressive their forward pack was. And once Melbourne realised that game plan A, or seemed to be their one and only game plan of Nelson Asafa Solomona hurting people wasn't going to work, then they couldn't do anything. They had no answers for what Penrith are throwing up to them. So no, they were very impressive, but very, very Panthers-like. They've been doing it all season. No matter the opposition, they seem to have a very, very good game plan against them. Olam did have a shocker, and so did I can't remember his name, the 11 that was playing beside him, was just riddled with errors. They obviously haven't played many games together. Yeah. And their combination was just well off. And to answer your brother's question,
Steve was horrible as well.
The toothpaste that I used is Colgate Optic White. Colgate Optic White. Sponsor?
I use the same toothpaste. Is that the black one? That comes out black?
Nah.
Oh, I use
red
the Colgate
tube.
one that comes
hang on.
White one.
And not red tube that you're used to.
Hang on a sec. Where are we taking this? Red tube? Oh, Adam, I'll get you back. Don't look at red tube, guys. Especially while we're on air, don't look at red tube. Just save it till afterwards. It's all good. Red tube. We will get a sponsor of red tube. No worries.
We'll cop a sponsor.
Adam. Yeah, why not? But we'll
I reckon that's something Andrew would currently be doing. To be honest, if you're looking up Christmas tree stuff, I reckon he'd be into that. In that Christmassy kind of.
I'm sure there's a subcategory.
Andrew.
Let's get back to rugby.
Adam, just a question for you, Adam. Obviously the forward pack, we spoke about it, and you were absolutely raving, especially about James Fisher-Harris. Just tell us what your thoughts were on the game itself and his performance.
Yeah, it was good. They were good.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, mate. We'll move on to the next game. Thanks, Adam. Finally, didn't have much to say.
They played a classic Penrith style, and it's what they've been doing for so long. I don't think Melbourne really did anything to trouble them, though. Not taking away from Penrith, but they did it in cruise control. It was like a training run. It's going to be a lot harder next week. So hopefully as much doesn't go their way.
Yeah. Moving on to the next game. Obviously, Broncos beating the Warriors quite easily in the end, I thought. Let's focus on the Warriors first. Well done to us, a great season. I just want a quick shout out to all the Warriors fans who have been creating such a great atmosphere. I was there
Sorry,
as a
sorry,
game
sorry.
around the ground.
Can we go back?
Up the
Can we go
wires,
back?
up the wires.
It's
Here we
another
go, here
popular
we go.
talking point that I've just got to say because I forgot to mention it. The Penrith and Melbourne game. I was pretty tired, guys. I just can't tell with my eyes. I'm pretty tired, but I forgot to mention this. And the crowd, it's fucking disgraceful.
Oh,
Honestly,
yeah. Okay.
like
It was.
you know,
Let's get into it.
They put the figure up of 35,000, which I want to know where they found the extra 4,000 people from. But the fact that
That's a
there's
good.
only 35,000 people there, and they had to give away buy one get one free tickets. They had to give away free tickets to pretty much everyone. Like that buy one get one free was published on pretty much every other sporting page around. Like OzTag was sharing it, different things. Nurses were given free tickets. People who are going to see Tina the musical were given free tickets. It's just disgraceful. It looks shit for a prelim final. As I said, I switched it off and I watched. I've got something in my throat now. I switched off and I watched AFL where there was 97,000 people. All right. Now, let's do a little comparison. You've got Penrith, obviously out of Western Sydney, 25 minutes from Accor Stadium, playing Melbourne, 8 hours away, 9 hours away in Melbourne. You look at the AFL, you had Collingwood. Obviously, Collingwood's somewhere in Melbourne. There was about 15 minutes from the MCG. So not too much of a distance, really, to similar. Playing GWS, who probably have the lowest following in the AFL by far. I think I've got about 6,000 or 7,000 members. There would have been.
I think the Suns are probably the lowest, but
yeah, that's true.
You're right.
Yeah, but close. The Giants don't have much of a following. With 97,000 people at a packed MCG for a prelim. That's the shit you want to see at a prelim. Penrith fans, first of all, they need to have a good hard look at themselves. They'll turn up next week. They'll like to the grand final, obviously. But to get 35,000 to a prelim, this looks absolutely shitty house in a 90,000, 85,000 seat stadium. We know the game should be played at CommBank. NRL really needs to, start thinking a bit better, but it's not good enough. Like, honestly, like the fact they were giving away, of course it was 99% Penrith fans there, but the fact, let's say 99%, let's say there's 33,000 Penrith fans there. Like, where are they all? Where's all these ones that turn up for the grand final? I know there wasn't that many of them there last year. They were outnumbered, but the years before there has been.
You're going for 3 in a row. Like,
yeah. In 2020,
where
they played Melbourne. They played Melbourne in a grand final, and it was all Penrith nearly. Like, have they fallen off because they expect to win? Was it not Dole week in Penrith this week? Sorry, it's the truth. It's the truth. Like, could people not afford to go?
It doesn't matter. They're giving away for free. It doesn't matter.
They were giving away free tickets, but petrol's expensive, and actually is. That's no lie, but it's not cheap to go to the footy. So
train's not. There's a station right there.
I know, but is there a problem there? Look at food. You want to take a family, you got to get food. I'm trying to think of issues and reasons why Penrith fans decide to not turn up the game. Is it something the NRL needs to start looking at? Because we know they don't care about, obviously, fans in the stadium. We know we've concentrated since about TV rights and stuff. So why are we charging so much for tickets? Like, wouldn't it look better if they charge $10 to get in or $20 to get in for all the seats in the grandstands and just said, okay, let's get 60, 70,000 people there. Like, if I lived 20 minutes away from the ground, I live 2 hours away, and they were saying, all right, it's $20 to go watch this team, you'd probably get more people there, 100%. It's just, it looks shit. It looks shit house.
It did. It looked poor. It looked poor.
It was a pretty shitty thing to look at, and it's disappointing because it should have been at CommBank. Everyone was saying it all week. It should have been played at CommBank. Would have been looking amazing. What's the capacity at CommBank again, Adam? About 30, 31?
30.
Yeah, about 30,000 packed to the rafters. It would have been fantastic instead of a half empty place where they're going to be playing the grand final next year where it's going to be packed. Like, it was just stupid. So
I play one next week too. You said next year.
No, next week. I can't talk. I'm buggered. I was massive. I didn't get out of there last night. That's one of my gripes. I'll talk about soon. But getting out of there, and I was standing in the line, right, and I was waiting for it. I booked my Uber, and I was there, and then this drunk couple stood in front of me as my Uber was approaching, and I had my hand out. He must have thought it was those two, and he drove off thinking this guy's drunk out of his skin. I'm not picking them up, and he just left me. And the next Uber was like 20 minutes away. It was an absolute joke. So I was just sitting there by myself. Anyway, it was a great game. Let's go on to it. Broncos versus
What
the
a
Warriors.
piece of
He was an absolute piece of shit. Don't even beat me. He's an absolute piece of shit. Uber, you can go and get fucked. But anyway, no.
What was his rating? What rating did you give him?
I couldn't do anything because he cancelled it. I don't think I can do anything, can I? Or if I can, put in the comments. Let me know what I can do. I'm going to go at that dog. Anyway, great game. I was there. Atmosphere, as I said, was sensational. It was one of a kind. And special shout out to the Warriors. I was trying to say that before Adam rudely interrupted me about his stadium obsession.
Up the Waz.
The Warriors, phenomenal year. I don't think anyone saw it coming. So great to get there to the top four, final four teams. Effectively came third. It was just great to see how much rugby league actually means to New Zealand as a whole, and what it's growing at a rapid rate. And anyway, what do we make the Warriors season and last night? Obviously, our talking point for mine was Sean Johnson not kicking conversions. They would have been right there in the game if Johnson was kicking. I know a lot of people go, his calf was hurt. I know his calf was hurt, guys, when I put the status up. I do read the rugby league news and know why he was hurt and stuff like that. But if he's doing general play kicking, why can't he kick a conversion? I don't get it. Like, that is just, how can you kick general play where he's putting up bombs and kicking at 60 meters? He can't kick a 20-meter goal that he would have kicked at least 2 out of those 3 that Pompey missed. Boys, what do you make of the Johnson misses?
Two expert goal kickers here. I'll highlight that. It's actually harder to kick with an injury on your opposite foot than it is to kick with an injury on your current foot. Do you agree with that, Jeremy?
Yeah.
If you had a calf injury, because so much of your balance comes from the opposite side, and you're putting your whole shockwave through that. So I'm okay. I'm okay with him not goal kicking. I think they had to do everything they could to keep Sean Johnson on the field. And
they missed a trick though. Mitch Barnett is a great goal kicker. They missed a trick.
Well, Pompey clearly isn't.
He is. I don't think
they probably picked their worst.
But
why doesn't Johnson kick? I just don't get it.
We just said that.
They didn't want to make him more injured. I get it.
They want him to play the whole game.
Yeah.
What is it? Honestly.
No, it's hard. It's honestly hard. Like, I was saying now, I've kicked, like, remember how the footy show used to do that 30-meter out in front? You used to kick it for whatever it was. Was it worth 10 grand?
Well, you want it. Oh, here we go. Story time.
No, I was never on it. I was never on it. But when they did the Alex McKinnon one, special one at their Civic, was that the entertainment center, wasn't it, Jeremy? They did that. Yep. They did that there, and it was massive. So they had the kick for cash was worth heaps, and obviously nominated for it. And I just had knee surgery. So I went down the park the day before and was like, if I get called out, am I going to be able to kick one over here? I had knee surgery on my right surgery. I nailed it from 30 out in front. But I can comfortably say now, when I've done things to my left ankle, I haven't been able to kick, and I kick with my right ankle. So it is a lot harder with an injured opposite to what you kick with. Like, it's because you just can't. If he kicked, he probably would have shanked him as well, because he wouldn't have had the confidence to be able to put all his pressure onto his bad side. So, yeah, I think we'll touch on that enough, Joel. I know you're angry. Are you okay?
Yeah, whatever then. Let's move on. Yeah, move on. Well done, Waz. Let's talk about the Broncos.
I want to touch on the Warriors first. I don't think the Warriors did anything wrong, besides missing goal kicks. I thought they played pretty well in that first half. Like, obviously defensively, a couple of times they got exposed, but that Brisbane team was just red hot when they went on those runs to score the tries. And the Warriors, they just never stopped trying. They never gave up. And I want to give them a massive shout. I know you were there, Joe. I don't know if you were there right at the end, but that Warriors contingent in the corner after the game.
Yeah.
Every single player went across to that fan base, and that fan base started around. You could hear the Warriors chant going after the game. It'd be great to have a club that cared about their fans so much. That's a shot at you, Parramatta.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, thoughts on the Warriors?
What a
Anything else to
season!
add?
Much like the Knights 10 in a row, they brought rugby league to life in New Zealand, and through the songs, through the social media pipes, like it was great. I know that I was on the Wires bandwagon when we got knocked out, and even going through the season, I think I said multiple times on this podcast, I'm going to need a finals team, and it looks like the Warriors are them. So everyone enjoys it when the Warriors are doing well, and it was just nice to see Sean Johnson get the accolades that he deserves and the way that he played. But then what he did in the post game and said a big thank you to the coach. And then someone asked him and said, "What? Why that? Why did you do that?" And he said, "Well, the coach is always the one that will hand out the thank yous, but very rarely do they get recognised live in person around what they've done for the club or for the team." And he just said, I felt like in that moment I needed to make sure that everybody knew that we were so thankful for what he's done. And he put the whole culture change for the Warriors on him, and just said that that was his doing. So that was again just Sean Johnson showing just how mature he is now and how influential he can be. So that was cool. That was cool.
And
Jeremy,
it's amazing because we've had an exclusive look into Andrew Webster's personal life and coaching this year, being one of the panelists on League of Inches. So thank you, Adam Webster.
You're an idiot. I just want to touch on what Jeremy said there. He said, he needed a finals team. He obviously had the Knights and he had the Warriors. Are you supporting Penrith hopefully next week, Jeremy?
No. No way am I supporting
Oh,
them.
great. Penrith winners on Jeremy. On Jeremy.
I want to talk about Broncos. We'll do that more so on Wednesday though, when we did the grand final preview and just about how good they were last night. I thought there was times in that game. It wasn't by no means it was a perfect game by the Broncos, but what it was when they needed to be, they were phenomenal. They were classy. Reece Walsh from mine is the player of the competition at the moment. He's easily the form player. He's the best player in the comp. He's an absolute superstar who is making it look easy. It's like as if I know he made some mistakes, but what I love most about Reece Walsh is when he makes some mistakes, he's going to come back and make up for it tenfold, and he will make sure he gets himself in those positions again and not be intimidated to try again. And that's what makes him such a good player, is he's not scared to do that.
He's so good that rules don't apply to him. That's how good he is.
He's the best, he is the best quarterback in the game.
Before we go into that,
guys.
his change of speed. There was the try that he was standing at the back with his hands on his hips, and then there was an offload, and just click, he went into attack mode, and he was so fast and set up that try. That was as much as I didn't like him during the Origin period, and then a couple of games he was kicking out as he was jumping up. I've come around to him, and more the off-field stuff and what he's trying to do as a person. He's trying to grow, which is super lovely. And then just photos of him. Was that his daughter? The young girl on the field?
Two daughters.
Oh, the photos of him and them on the field after, like, if that doesn't melt your heart. I know he's a heartthrob already, and that's why Michael's wife continuously watches the Broncos play. But if you're not in love with him, then that'll do it for you. That'll tip you over the edge. Made my ovaries glow anyway.
Hang on, Mika. I'll defend him here. He actually made a couple of good tackles last night, and I think he actually did save one or maybe two. So just hang on. He has been stepping up. He's easily the fullback of the con. He is the Australian fullback at the end of the year. There is no doubt about that. So if Tedesco gets it, it will be an atrocity.
Yeah, I think Adam highlighted though in our group chat that the Warriors actually highlighted a few defensive chinks in the armor for Penrith, and I think Penrith would be licking their lips just to see how they were so easily cut in half. So, yeah, Penrith do what they do best. They'll watch that footage and they'll have a game plan ready to go. Adam?
Yeah, look, obviously highlighted Walsh. I know I'm always one to come out and highlight the forwards and how good the forwards are, obviously making the meters for the halves and the backs to play, but every set that they started well, that one's got me. It's got to work on your body now as well, and you'll be right. Every single set they started, he got a quick play the ball. It was beating that first or second person nearly every time off the kick returns, getting the quick play of the ball, and it just got a roll, and they just go Haas, boom, Carrigan, boom, Flegler. It didn't matter what forward was there. On the back of that, those forwards are making 12, 13 meters every run. They couldn't get them on the back. They couldn't slow them down, and they're making easy meters. And it was so quick. And obviously, you get your halves to come in and do the job then. That I'm done. I'm done. Give me a second.
Just a special shout out. Special shout out to, I thought Payne Haas. We spoke about James Fisher Harris on Friday night. I thought Payne Haas. Funnily enough, before the game, I had a chat to a couple of people, and they're saying that Payne Haas hasn't really stood up with the real big games so far. Like everyone knows how good he is, but there was question marks about how big his deal should be, things like that. And last night, he was just outstanding. Like, it was as if he watched Penrith's game and he goes, you know what? Watch this. This is what's coming for you guys next week as well. So really, really thought Payne Haas was massive. But
he was a real pain in their ass. Thank you.
It was a massive pain in the ass.
Yeah.
228 run meters. 228 run meters. And you highlighted live when he made that line break and they scored off the back of it. I think, or was it you, Joel?
Joel.
Yeah.
Only one player went over and celebrated. They all ran over to Payne Haas and celebrated with him because that was his doing.
Yeah.
Like that sums up the Broncos.
Yeah. I think the thing I want to quickly highlight is the smart gameplay by Brisbane. Obviously, they had probably that 15, 20 minutes of offloads and just attacking style. They won the game in that 20 minutes, let's be honest. The Warriors weren't coming back after that. But the ability to put that away in the second half and get back to playing structured footy and getting back into the grind, they forced the Warriors back in the grind, which is a hard thing to do when you're comfortably ahead in a game. It's a very hard thing to do. But it was a very smart coaching style because it's what they're probably going to have to do for the first 20, 25 minutes of the grand final next week. We know they want to go out, they want to throw those offloads around, but they can't do it against a Penrith team that's going to have excellent line speed, and their forwards are obviously going to try and get quick play the balls and get them on the back foot. They need to get in that grind and back Reynolds' kicking game. And to see that's what they did for the first 15, 20 minutes of the second half shows they'd already switched focus to next week. And it's an incredibly hard thing to, when you win a prelim final or you're comfortably heading a prelim final, it's not where the emotion gets you and start thinking, about how good it is to be thinking about grand final stuff. To see they'd focused straight on a game plan for next week instead of focusing on all the things that are going to happen between now and then. It means they're ready to go. He obviously
very mature footy side.
Yeah, he gave Reynolds a rest. It was great coaching. He gave Reynolds a rest. Carrigan didn't come back on for a second stint. Bought Walsh off. I think the only person he really pushed through was his son. I want to give a shout out to. I think he's just massively developed as a player.
Played well.
Superb. Yeah.
Comfortably, well done, Adam. You're on fire tonight.
I know. I go well on zero sleep. He's probably comfortably the most form hooker in the game at the moment. Like, he's playing better than Mitch Kenny.
Yeah, 100%. That's something that we can talk about on Wednesday. Where Broncos can really exploit. That's obviously the last talking point here is the try of we're getting ready for Las Vegas, obviously. So let's add it to the screen. Let's watch it all together.
Oh, you went.
Look at this, guys. This is the pass we're talking about. Oh.
Which one?
They're both bad. Honestly.
You've got footage now, guys. So if you go back and pause it here, right, you'll see Reece Walsh with the ball. If you just roll it a little bit forward and you pause it here, you've still got Reece Walsh with the ball. As you can see, he lets go of it. Can you get to the point where he lets go of it, Joel? Yep. He lets go of it there.
This is me, by the way.
On the white arrow. He catches it well past. Now, you've got some clear indications here that he's passed the ball in the middle of the logo and he's caught it well after the logo.
Also, watch Reece Walsh. He's let go of the ball and he turns to the referee. Ready? Oh.
Yeah.
Let's play on. Okay.
Guilty.
Before you roll it too far, can you go back a little bit? Can you go back a little bit? Can you do that? Just a little bit more. All right. Everyone's complaining about the touchy. The touchy couldn't keep up with the play. Can you tell me the referee can't see it? That's fucking gone forward from there.
I was literally the other side of the field, about 30 meters behind this, and I knew it was forward as soon as it happened. I said, "That is
Look where the
forward." I
referee
stopped
is.
watching.
Look where the referee is.
Oh, is that you
That
controlling,
logo is
Jeremy?
on the
Sorry.
field, though, isn't it, Joel? Can you confirm that logo is on the field?
What logo? The Telstra
The
one,
Telstra? Yeah.
and the League of Inches logo as well. So we were
God,
we featured on the field as well. Thanks, guys.
Forward. And then let's look at the second one. Oh,
Look,
That's
the
forward
second
as
one
well.
the second one was backwards out the hands.
second one happens every week. Every
100%.
game, every week.
What I'm pissed off about is, and I'm not saying like Brisbane were the better team by far, but at 24-12 and 4 tries to 3, the Warriors are still in this, and it's game over right there. The Warriors, moments before halftime, got called for a very flat forward pass. It was probably forward from dummy half. That happens 20 times a game every week. You know, the amount of times you see a forward pass from dummy half, and they got called for it. If you reckon there wasn't like an agenda for Brisbane to obviously want to go through, like if the touchy could call that one but not make a call there, it just shows that touchies are a complete fucking waste of time. Bip. All right. They are. Like, what's the point of having them? Like, and I'm all for we can't call forward passes and it's controversial. Mate, common sense has to rule. Because imagine if it was 18 all in a grand final with 30 seconds to go and a team scored off that. And we've got 74 different fucking cameras facing that and we can't go, that's clearly forward out the hands. Honestly, like, it's embarrassing. We talk about the game going to America. Well, first of all, be careful what I say here. Americans aren't always the smartest people in the world, but they'll probably go,
We got
"Oh, there's
no
nothing wrong
audience
with that."
left.
It was a great pass. Yeah, it was a great pass downfield, but they wouldn't understand the rules, so we can't
You've
say
bagged out Penrith fans tonight, and then you're bagging out Americans. We're trying to grow the podcast,
I'm being
and you
very
just
careful. I'm being very careful to not bag out Americans at the current time. So what I will say is they're not going to understand the rules of the game. So people going, how are we getting this wrong? Like, you know, we're going to take the game overseas. It's going to be embarrassing. Who gives a flying fuck about taking the game overseas? The simple fact is we shouldn't be getting this shit wrong. Like, will that touch be dropped? Will the ref be dropped? No. I just find this as an excuse to bring Ashley.
They're not in the grand final.
Yeah, they're
not in the grand final. They can't. Adam G has to get it. Adam G has been probably the best referee all year, to be honest. He's been the only one that's actually
Henry Perinara
had some decent sort of balls about him. And this is the thing that gets to me. And I made a post obviously about it today, and it just does my head in. I'm not here saying the Warriors would have won this or it lost the Warriors the game, not at all. But what it did mean, it meant the Warriors didn't have a chance. They were going set for set with the Broncos at that time. And the next try, because I was after half time, the next try was crucial because if the Warriors got it, I can guarantee you right now the crowd would have got them right into the game. I'm not saying they would have beat the Broncos from it. I know the Broncos ran on with it. But this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand is how quickly a momentum can change in rugby league. And all it takes is one little thing like that to change it straight away. And all of a sudden, the Broncos, who went from a 12-point lead out to like a 18-point lead, which is massive, and the Warriors in the crowd just die off. And they go, all right, we can't do it. Where if it was still set for set, 5 minutes later, the Warriors score to make it a 6-point ball game. It's a totally different way that the Broncos play to start with. They don't start playing their free-flowing footy that they do every time they've got a good lead. They're back staying set for set, which was suiting the Warriors at the time. I know Adam was talking about getting themselves ready for next week, which is fine. And we know the Broncos can play that way. But that style of play was suiting the Warriors a lot more than that free-flowing game of footy that the Broncos started to play. So it was a massive call, and it's a call that we should be getting right every time. That is something that we should not even be questioning.
This is the howler that we're supposed to be getting rid of. Like that's the howler. How is that allowed in the modern game? How is that not allowed to be ruled upon when you can see it so clearly on every single camera angle? Like,
why can we rule on knock-ons and tap-ons? You know, they can call the tap-on and call it as a tap-on, not a pass. Yeah. And say, like, you know, how many times have we seen it? They go upstairs and they go, all right, they hit the ball back. Obviously, when Sands hits the ball back, and they say that's gone forward when they review it. But it's a tap-on because it's not a pass. Same fucking thing. Like, you're still determining which way the ball goes by a camera. But these cameras that are not placed fairly, Like, we've got the money in the game. We've got the technology. Why don't we have a camera just constantly following the play up and down? It'll be doing a better job than touchies. Like, literally, all you have
Yeah,
to
And
have a
this is
camera
where
on.
And if the touchy can't keep up, then why is he in the top level?
100%.
And the NRL has a
And then,
massive off season, I feel like, for this, because the NRL officiating all year has been pretty horrible. I think we can all agree it's gone downhill rapidly. And the fact that we saw Ash Klein get dropped from this week's game, and there is no way in the world Sutton was the third best referee this year. He has been horrible. He doesn't deserve to be anywhere near these big games. The fact he was next guy off the rank is, for mine, eye-opening, and it says that the officiating has no depth at all at the moment, which is a huge problem with the future of the game. We've got to get onto that. There's cause for us to go to 2 referees, which is obviously hard to do at the moment because there's just no depth there. There's no quality around to get these calls right. Like there's, it's as if they're shot for confidence. They have no confidence at all. You go and watch, and Adam would have seen it today when you watch these lower grades. I personally feel like it's refereed better. They're better refs because there's not as much scrutiny. They can do whatever they please, basically, and I guess the technology is, in a way, is destroying it as well because we rely on that so much. But the referee, as we saw in that clip earlier, he's literally like 7 meters away or something. It's not a hard one to get right. It should be just a given. You're like, yep, forward pass, see you later. Like, as you said, Reece Walsh is staring back at the ref straight away. Like, it's guilty. Everyone knows a player who does that is guilty. You're like, all right, forward pass, that's it. So
it's
we hope to God this does not happen next week, and it's a massive howler impacts the grand final.
it's interesting you mentioned referees because there is some good young referees coming through, but they're not given opportunities because I guess the old referees kind of hang around a bit too long. Like Ben Cummins has just retired because he was missing out on big games and he wanted to be refereeing big games. So that's obviously how they give him a tap on the shoulder. Like Ashley Klein needs to be given a tap on the shoulder. Badger was pretty much forced out the same way because they weren't giving him the big games. So they drop him down the order, they just drop off, and they just need to learn when to step away. Because I know, like a bloke that's been in the system, for quite a while and just can't get a crack, and he's a good referee, great referee. He's refereed, local grand finals. He's refereed New South Wales Cup level and stuff like that, and just can't get a go. But I went and watched it, obviously, game today, and the bloke who had the referee in our game was absolutely disgraceful. He had no idea what calls he was making because he'd come from a New South Wales system where he's used to refereeing cup games and stuff like that, and was given a lower level game where things are probably a little bit dirtier, and he just, didn't know how to handle it. So, like you said, it's experience to be able to at the top level they need to have, and they're not getting
I feel like we're gonna miss the 2 female referees in their prime as well. Belinda Clark ref the Knights game today, and she did a fantastic job. But I feel like the NRL's not going to give them a fair crack, and they're probably just going to retire or continue to run the line until they do. Where I genuinely believe we have 2 really good referees in those 2 ladies right there.
Don't be silly,
make
Jez.
calls. They make tough calls.
They'll continue to get that game that doesn't mean anything in round 26, 27, and the NRL will think they're all good for doing so. Don't be silly about that.
Oh, sharp. Yeah, that's
fair,
who I meant. Sorry,
yeah.
Michael.
To be fair, Belinda's an absolute.
Belinda Clark is the Australian cricketer. Yes,
Belinda Sharp. She's
Belinda
an
Sharp.
absolute special to get the Thursday, Friday night Channel 9 game on the touchline. She gets it nearly every week.
Put her in the middle. I'm saying, like, she had a fantastic game today, and there was only one call that went upstairs. Like, she called everything live and perfectly. And there was a couple of dodgy knock-ons. There was a couple of weird groundings, and she was in the right position every single time. I know it was a women's game, but that's not to take anything away from the NRLW.
She was shithouse in the Manly Tigers game. She was absolutely terrible.
Was she?
I'm being 100% honest. Not saying this because she was a female. Obviously, I've been involved in female sport for a long time, but
no, sex is taken out of this at the moment. It's just
she was terrible. She couldn't handle
the
game. She 100% couldn't handle the speed of the game.
Well, she nailed it today. I'm just saying she nailed today's.
Yeah. Well, that's all we've got time for. And talking about sex and red tube, Andrew, you can go after this and get onto your nightly routine, I guess. Thank you for your support. I hope you enjoyed the tickets on League of Inches.
Christmas tree porn.
This is these late night shows. They just get to us. But tune in, obviously, Wednesday. We will let you know a bit more about the Wednesday show. We might have a couple of special guests. I know there's a few things getting going on in the works behind the scenes. So we'll see what we can do. And yeah, there'll be a lot of content this week. So make sure you follow the page and get around it. Plenty of grand final posts in the lead up to things. So hope you enjoyed. Go ahead, give us some love on wherever you listen to the podcast. If you listen to that, Miko, it will be might be early on Wednesday. We'll see how we're traveling. We might be more awake by then. But thanks, guys. Enjoy your week, and congrats once again to the Penrith Panthers and the Broncos.